Welcome back to Visions Now Supper Club. Visions Now Supper Club is a presentation of Columbus Flavor 92.1 FM and AM 1420. All views expressed for their educational and journalistic purposes. They are not the views of the management, advertisers, nor staff of 92.1 FM or AM 1420. However, Visions does desire to bring a quality edutainment program which intellectually stimulates and culturally fulfills our community's needs to develop leadership and informed decision-making for our collective. Welcome to the village. Often imitated, but never duplicated. I'm Dr. Jaylene Hood, your host and executive producer. Welcome. Hey. Yeah. Yes. We're getting ready to today with the, here Vision Now, we do Sankofa, African history year round. But I did want to introduce, like we talked about Booker T, we talked about W.B. Du Bois, and I just wanted people to actually get a chance to hear full-throated Malcolm X under the teachings of Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And so y'all would know what the talk is all about. You probably seen the movie and heard about, some people kind of heard about, but this is going to be a little full-throated. And we're going to get a chance to hear Malcolm X in his heyday, before the estrangements and all that kind of stuff went down. But again, he's still family, but this is why, because like I just say, before he had the platform of the nation, nobody knew who he was. He was Malcolm Little. He was real little, But once he got on that stage with Elijah Muhammad, then of course Muhammad Ali on the other side, Mel Farrakhan coming, pulling up the rear at that time, and hey, so again, this is the Malcolm X that I first heard in the Battle of the Bullet, and that kind of thing. So y'all get a chance to kind of listen, settle back and relax. This is Vision Now, the Supper Club. We the one that loves you. Ain't a doggone thing you can do about it. So just go and accept the love. Now with the love now, we're going to pat you on the back when you're doing it good, but when you ain't doing it good, we got a paddle for you. We do it like the Divine Nine do it. Put that paddle on that behind if you ain't doing it right. You got to work for the people. All right. Just want to keep it real. Want to keep it real with you, baby. All right. So, Jay, how you doing?
Doing good, Doc. I'm doing good, Doc.
Come on, Jay, man.
Doing good.
What's the word on the street, man? What they talk about out there, man? Before we bring Malcolm on, what's now? I know one thing about that's another thing we're gonna play later on is that the other night I happened to get caught into not caught, but I mean I happened to be on Facebook when that shooting went down.
That's what I was gonna say.
And then some people were talking about it, and then I got in on the live, and I'm gonna try to find that. With the part that I shared, about it. And I'm understanding today, of course, several things going on. I understand they have something up. Now, do we get these things? Do you know what was going on at Carver today? Okay, that's another story. Now they're supposed to have a state of the Black City or something downtown that hosts the chapel. I mean, it's like this. People, for some reason, people don't take life seriously. At some point, you stop playing these little wars. That's one thing about it, is that there ain't no radio wars. We all got a different flavor. We got always, so therefore, before we come to the community, we should have a broadcast association or alliance or something to make sure our community get what it needs. But people be trying to, but that's That's one of the reasons why, like I say, the problem here in Columbus, Georgia, most of the people in Columbus, Georgia, never been a part of no movement. They've been sitting around watching on TV or heard somebody else talking. They ain't never been a part of a movement to make nothing happen. You see what I'm saying? Only thing they've been around is people begging. We're beggars around here. People beg too doggone much, and they love beggars. So that's why the people, I guess, they're going to have a little problem with me and Malcolm X. But anyway, yeah, I mean, I'm just trying to say, man, people, oh, man, we just, it's
truth, shame the devil.
It's sad. Junior, what's going on in your world? You got the C100, right. The C100.
Yes,
we're going to get we're going to get a little panel going on. We got to get them. See
them boys come down.
When I was in college, now we was all over the city
in the streets. That's why I was trying to get them out here, man.
We opened up street programs, youth programs, all that kind of stuff. That's what we were doing. Yes, we had an association of black students. I mean, on different campuses, like around here would have been okay. CVCC would have had one. Columbus State would have had one. Columbus Tech would have had one. Troy State, always association of black students. We were about trying to protect and build our community.
And I don't think we got enough people that's about it. That's what we're trying to change.
And that we're trying to change. And I'm trying to we can make sure they tune in, man, so that we can feed them. And we can help them out if they don't understand. We can help them understand. But yeah, Jay. So I'm gonna try to find that piece, and at least you can get a chance to we can talk about it as well. So we're gonna come out with Malcolm first, and then it's about this a speech of Malcolm. I think you're gonna like. But anyway, the bottom line is you don't have to ask nobody what it's about. He gonna tell you what he about. So therefore you're not operating off of what you heard somebody said. He said you'll get a chance to hear Malcolm in full throat. He working his throat chakra today. Okay, so whenever you're ready, Jay, we can go on and bring Malcolm. Malcolm X, representative of the Nation of Islam, Elijah Muhammad, national spokesman, Malcolm X.
Can the black man develop himself as a separate society?
Well, it's easy. He's separate already. The fact that you have Harlem, the fact that you have the Negro ghetto and the so-called Negro slum, he's already separate. The fact that he's a second-class citizen is a political separation. The fact that he's the last hired and the first fired is an economic separation. Only in this form of separation, the black man is exploited. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad says that we should be separate, all right. But in this separate state or separate existence, the black man should be given the opportunity and the incentive to do for himself what the white man has done for himself. If you have an all-white neighborhood, you don't call it a segregated neighborhood, but you call an all-black neighborhood a segregated neighborhood. And why? Because the segregated neighborhood is the one that's controlled from the outside by others. But a separate neighborhood is a neighborhood that is independent, it's equal, it can stand on its own 2 feet, such as the white neighborhood. It's an independent, free neighborhood, free community. They're not trying to force themselves upon anyone, socially or otherwise. But the Negro neighborhood, which is inferior, is begging for a chance to integrate itself into that which is superior, which is not going to happen. It's going to cause trouble.
Well, in other words, then you think the Negro has first to raise himself to a status of equality with the white community.
Yes.
Now, what happens, assuming that he can do that? Would you then be in favor of integration, let's say, in the schools or any place else?
When you are equal with another person, the problem of integration doesn't even arise. It doesn't come up. The Chinese in this country aren't asking for integration. The Japanese aren't asking for integration. The only minority in America that's asking for integration is the so-called Negro, primarily because he is inferior, not inherently inferior, but he's economically, socially, politically inferior. And this exists because he has never tried to stand on his own 2 feet and do something for himself. He has filled the role of a beggar.
Well, how can a minority group in this country, so-called, stand on its own 2 feet?
Well, I can give you this example by explaining the difference between segregation and separation. Segregation is that which is forced upon an inferior by a superior. Separation is done voluntarily by 2 equals. If I have children and they live in my house, I care for them, they're dependent upon me, and their dependence upon me puts me in a position to regulate their lives, control their lives, tell them where to go, where they can't go. that's a form of segregation. But when those children become of age and they think they're equal with me, they leave my home. And when they leave my home and begin to set up a home for themselves, provide clothing, food, and shelter for themselves, that makes them independent of me. It puts them out of my jurisdiction. And the fact that they can do for themselves that which I have done for myself makes me have to recognize that they are equals with me. And now the Honorable Elijah Muhammad says that the black man in America for the past 400 years has been like a boy in the white man's house, begging the white man for a job, for food, clothing, and shelter. And then after the white man provides him with all of these things, he turns around and has the nerve to get angry at the white man when the white man tries to control his life.
But how, from a practical point of view, can the Negro be self-sufficient?
The Honorable Elijah Muhammad says, number one, he must have a knowledge of himself. And this gives him confidence in himself. He has been brainwashed by the educational system that exists here in America to the point where he feels he was a savage in the jungle when he was, before he was brought here. And this destroys his morale. So the number one thing that has to be done, he has to be retaught. He has to be re-educated and made to know that he's a man like anyone else, and then he can stand on his own 2 feet like others have done. I might add, the whites who came here only, say 50 years ago as immigrants have come into this country. They have set up businesses. They've developed these businesses into an industry. Some of them came here as poor immigrants, uneducated, and yet today they're economically independent. Now, the black man here was so-called free by Lincoln 100 years ago. The black man in America has a purchasing power of $20 billion now, and he's educated. If the white man can come here uneducated and as an immigrant, and within 10 or 15 years set up an industry that provides job opportunities and educational opportunities for black people, then if the black man, the black leadership, who has access to all of this money and has all of these degrees today, can't use his talent and his know-how to set up business opportunities, job opportunities, housing opportunities for the black people, the same as the white leaders have done for white people, then these black leaders need to get off the boat. They're not leading our people toward any kind of independence, but they're using their positions and their education and their talent to exploit our people worse than the slave master did during slavery.
Are you advocating a state within a state for the Negro community?
Not a state within a state, but the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is saying that the black man, since the white man, has found it impossible to bring about integration other than on a token basis, and which proves that the two of us, the ex-slave and the master, can't live in the same house as equals. And at the same time, then what Mr. Muhammad says is they should take their navy and their merchant fleet and ship us back where they got us. And that's not deportation, that's returning stolen property to its proper owner.
It seems to me that actually the basis of distinction here is a distinction of goals. Dr. King's goals are quite different from yours. He believes in integration, complete integration of society.
Well, that's where Dr. King is mixed up. His goal should be the solution of the problem of the black man in America. Now, not integration. Integration is the method toward obtaining that goal. And what the Negro leader has done is gotten himself wrapped up in the method and has forgotten what the goal is. The goal is the dignity of the black man in America. He wants respect as a human being. He wants recognition as a human being. Now, if integration will get him that, all right. If segregation will get him that, all right. If separation will get him that, all right. But after he gets integration and he still doesn't have this dignity and this recognition as a human being, then his problem is still not solved.
Well, isn't this exactly what Dr. King is looking towards? And that is the day when the Negro will be treated with dignity. Wasn't this, after all, the result of the Montgomery bus boycott?
No, because I don't think you can, having an opportunity to ride either on the front or the back or in the middle of someone else's bus doesn't dignify you. When you have your own bus, then you have dignity. When you have your own school, you have dignity. When you have your own country, you have dignity. When you have something of your own, you have dignity. But whenever you are begging for a chance to participate in that which belongs to someone else, or use that which belongs to someone else on an equal basis with the owner, that's not dignity, that's ignorance. If I may add, for instance, King and these others will say that they are fighting for the Negro to have equal job opportunities. How can people, a group of people such as our people who own no factories, have equal job opportunities competing against a race that owns the factories? The only way the two can have equal job opportunities is if black people have factories as well as white people have factories. And then we can employ whites or we can employ blacks, just like they can employ whites or they can employ blacks. But as long as the factories are in the hands of the whites, the housing is in the hands of the whites, the school system is in the hands of the whites, you have a situation where the blacks are constantly begging the whites, can they use this or can they use that? That's not any kind of equality of opportunity, nor does it lend toward one's dignity.
Well, would you not admit that the situation in the South today for the Negro is better than it was, let's say, 10 years ago?
No, because 10 years ago, the black man knew what his condition was. And today, because of the world revolution that's taking place all over this earth, the black man would be fighting for what he knows is his by right. But the movement on the part of King and the others has done nothing but slow down the militancy that is inherent in the nature of the black man. All over this world, people are standing up for freedom. In this country, these Negro leaders have Negroes sitting down, thinking that there's dignity towards sitting in. I might add, ma'am, how in the world can you say, or can anyone say, that it will dignify the American Negro to beg in or wade in or plead in when the people in Hungary didn't beg in? They were freedom fighters, and they fought for their freedom, and they came to this country, and they were Hungarians, they were communists from a communist country, and right now those Hungarian freedom fighters can get jobs that student sit-ins can't get. They can go and sleep and live in hotels that Martin Luther King himself can't live in. So, and they are recognized and respected because they're fighters, not because they're sit-inners or freedom writers.
Well, would you advise the Negro in the South then to take up arms and get control of the factories this way?
No. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us the religion of Islam, which is a religion of peace. And he says that the way to solve this problem is for the white man to give us some territory of our own. And then our people, we have technical know-how, we have agricultural know-how, we have been working for the white man in his business. In every phase of his government, we work. And instead of working for him and helping him hold up a government that continues to suppress us socially and exploit us economically and oppress us politically, let us go into our own territory and use our own talents to uplift ourselves by our own bootstraps. And then he will recognize us for what we are.
Yes, but suppose you don't get this territory, which seems quite likely. Then what are you going to do? How are you going to accomplish your goals?
No, that's not our problem. That's America's problem. If the average American knew the trouble that Uncle Sam is in all over this earth, they could see that we're closer toward getting a separate territory in this country than the integrationists are toward getting integration. You have a race problem that must be solved, or else you will alienate every non-white person on this earth within the next few years or within the next few months. Uncle Sam right now is forcing integration only because he's trying to impress the people abroad that he's morally qualified to be the leader of the world. And if he can't do this, then it will alienate them. And all of the hundreds of millions of dollars or billions of dollars that he has sent abroad trying to buy the friendship of the dark world will go right down the drain. He's not sending $20 billion to South America because he loves those people down there. He's sending it to them because he needs their friendship. He needs their allegiance. And why should he send $20 billion down there, which is going to go down the drain every time you have a racial incident in this country? Solve the race problem here. And once you solve the race problem here, you don't have to send these billions of dollars abroad.
Mr. Malcolm, how many adherents does your movement have about?
I've never heard the Honorable Elijah Muhammad say how many there are, but I think as an intelligent person, you would agree that when you are teaching among oppressed people that they should be relieved of their oppression, not 100 years or 10 years from now, but right now, you're going to find your talk is going to fall upon sympathetic ears.
Then you feel that you have many more supporters than, let's say, figures that once were printed in the New York Times would indicate.
The main part of the tree is the root, and the root is always beneath the ground. It never is brought out into the light.
Would you say then that the average Negro, particularly in the South, who we are told follows and believes in Dr. King's philosophy, really does not believe in this philosophy, at least deep down in his heart, and would be just as willing to follow you?
Well, all you have to do is go back to slavery days, and there were two types of slave, the house slave and the field slave. The house slave was the one who believed in the master, who had confidence in the master, and usually was very friendly with the master. And usually he was also used by the master to try and keep the other slaves pacified. And the other slaves in the field never let that house slave know what they were really thinking. If the house slave said, well, one of these days all of us will live in the plantation, they said, uh-huh. They went along with him. But if you came up to them and said, let's go, they would be gone just like that. And in America, you have the same situation now. You have the vast masses who are still slaves. Then you have the upper class Negroes who are the modern day Uncle Toms or the 20th century Uncle Tom. They don't wear a handkerchief anymore. They wear top hats. They're called doctor. They're called reverend, but they play the same role today that Uncle Tom played on the plantation.
Are you likening Dr. King to the house slave of slavery days?
If you read the story of slavery and see the part that the Uncle Tom played in the plantation, and then you see how the white man today has changed his tactics, but he still occupies the same position. In that same context, you find Uncle Tom. He has changed his tactics, but he still occupies the same position. His job is to pacify the slave, keep them willing to suffer peacefully, keep them willing to love their enemy, and to pray for those who use them despitefully. That's the same thing that Uncle Tom did on the plantation before Lincoln issued the so-called Emancipation Proclamation.
And do you think that's what King is doing today?
Well, if he fills that role, he fills that role. I don't know. I have no thinking on the matter, but he's teaching the black people to suffer peacefully, patiently, until the white man makes up his mind that you're a human being the same as he. But the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is teaching the black man, you're a human being right now. All you have to do is dignify yourself. You don't have to wait for any white man to recognize you. Recognize yourself. Love each other. Practice harmony and brotherhood among your own kind. Do something for yourself, and then you will be recognized by the entire world as a man who has done for himself what others have done for themselves.
Do you think that Dr. King is sincere in what he's saying and doing, or do you think perhaps that he's being rather opportunistic in his own way, but his way just happens to be wrong?
He's wrong, and I'm inclined to believe that most Negro leaders, professional Negroes, are professional Negroes. Being a Negro is their profession, and being a leader is their profession. And usually they say exactly what the white man wants to hear them say. They never let the white man know exactly what black people are thinking, period. And most of them whose existence or whose position of leadership depends upon the subsidy or crumbs, the crumbs from the white man's table, will only say what that white man wants to hear. When they get behind the door, they talk a different language. And I think that they do the white man more harm and do America more harm than the Muslims do, who let the white man know exactly what we think and what black people think in general.
Is there any leadership in the Negro community outside that of the Black Muslim movement which you would approve of?
Whoever is standing up, telling the white man that his position is unjust, and that the black people should not have to wait for any Supreme Court, Congress, or Senate to legislate, or even the president to issue any kind of a proclamation to better the condition of our people. If a Negro leader is standing up making that point clear, then he's all right with us. But as long as he's making the white man think that our people are satisfied to sit in his house and wait for him to correct these conditions, he is misrepresenting the thinking of the black masses, and he's doing the white man a disservice because he's making the white man be more complacent than he would be if he knew the dangerous situation that's building up right inside his own house. A cat that's inside of your house that is angry and dissatisfied and hostile is more dangerous to you than a full-grown lion is on the outside.
Well, getting back to the philosophical point you made there about acceptance, this is one of the arguments that the white community down south gives to the Negroes who claim that they want certain rights, that it's fine to go to schools and to even sit at lunch counters together. But this question of social equality and social acceptance actually is something else again. The whites don't want it, and you don't want it. Now, where's the difference? Actually, aren't you taking their position in reverse?
Don't say the whites down south. Whites up north. There's no difference between whites in the south and whites in the north. Only the whites in the south aren't hypocritical about it. You don't find any more there is just as much social intermixing in the south between the races as there is in the north. Only in the South, they let you know where they stand, and in the North, they take a hypocritical approach or attitude or reaction. And I think, again, that does the whole problem a disservice. It's not a case of our wanting to mix socially with whites. And and the whites are right in the South when they say that getting a cup of coffee in a restaurant is not going to solve, is all right. But it's not all right for the black man. What does a black man look like begging for a cup of coffee in a white restaurant and doesn't have a job to back up to pay for it when he does get the coffee? It's putting the cart before the horse. Instead of the Negro leaders having the black man begging for a chance to dine in white restaurants, the Negro leader should be showing the black man how to do something to strengthen his own economy, to give himself an independent economy, or to provide job opportunities for himself. Not begging for a cup of coffee in a white man's restaurant.
Well, you take a situation like that which exists in Atlanta. Now, here it would seem to me would be an ideal illustration of your point. In Atlanta, you have some of the wealthiest Negroes in the United States. They own insurance companies, banks, beautiful homes. They have their own restaurants, nightclubs. They have some of the best schools that are all Negro schools. Yet do you really think that this makes them any better off? Do you think that this gives them any more dignity? Isn't this the goal towards which you're reaching?
Yes, this is the goal in part. But not only do we want our own community, we want our own land, period. The same as the Jews were never satisfied until they had Israel. They wanted a country that they could point toward and a flag that they could point toward. This doesn't mean that they even went to Israel, but this gave them prestige. It gave them dignity. It gave them something to back them up. And the black man in America's position is parallel with that of the Jews, especially when the Jews were in bondage under Pharaoh. And at no time did Moses in the Bible ever try and integrate the Hebrews into the Egyptian society or accept any hypocritical offers made by the slave master of that day. Moses taught complete separation and a land of their own flowing with milk and honey. He didn't teach them anything about any heaven up in the sky, but the only thing that would solve their problem is a land of their own. And the black man in America is the same as the Jews were in bondage under Pharaoh. We're strangers in a land that is not ours. We are rejected by this type of modern Pharaoh or pharaonic society. And the only way that we're going to solve our problem is to do the same thing today that the Hebrews did under Pharaoh. Strike out for ourselves into a land of our own where we can build a tabernacle to our own God like the Hebrews did back there. But as long as we sit around here trying to pray to the white man's God and go to the white man's church and into the white man's school, we'll be brainwashed by the white man's educational system, and we'll continue to look down upon ourselves, and we'll continue to be a beggar to him because we'll continue to think that he's superior to us.
20 million ex-slaves must be permanently separated from our former slave master and placed on some land that we can call our own. Then we can create our own jobs, control our own economy, solve our own problems, instead of waiting on the American white man to solve our problems for us. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us that on our own land, we can set up farms, factories, businesses. We can establish our own government and become an independent nation. And once we become separated from the jurisdiction of this white nation, we can then enter into trade and commerce for ourselves with other independent nations.
All right, then. So this is now the Supper Club. We are
Honorable Elijah Muhammad says that in our own land, we can establish our own agricultural system. We can grow food to feed our own people. We can raise cattle and use the hide, the leather, and the wool to clothe our people. We can dig the clay from the earth and make bricks to build homes for our people. We can turn the trees into lumber and furnish the homes for our own people. It says we can dig the natural resources.
And your first payment is not due for up to 45 days. Call 1-800-NEW-RATE. That's 1-800-NEW-RATE. R-A-T-E. It's fast, it's easy, and you get approved right over the phone, and you get your check today. Do you need a loan? Do you need to pay off that high-interest title bond loan and your first payment not due for 45 days? And you could maybe half the payment of the title bond? Call 1-800-NEW-RATE. That's 1-800-NEW-RATE. R-A-T-E. Did I mention you get up to $1,000 extra cash? That's 1-800-NEW-RATE. Get approved over the phone. You check today. That's 1-800-NEW-RATE. R-A-T-E. Did I mention you get up to $1,000 in extra cash? That's 1-800-NEW-RATE. R-A-T-E.
If you know building materials, and I know you do, then nobody's going to be able to sell you something that you don't need at a price that is ridiculous to pay for. So you always go to Harvey Lumber for everything you need, because You've come to expect no less than the very best product at the lowest possible price from the very best team of folks in the building materials business. But for other folks like me, I can't even build a stick. I need somebody that I can trust, not to try and oversell me or upsell me on things I don't need in the first place. I guess what I'm trying to say is I may not know a lot about building materials and the right tools for the job, but I do know Harvey Lumber. And I know that they have never and will never steer me wrong or let me down. You can always trust the folks that have been in business in the Chattahoochee Valley for over 150 years. Dale Castile and that superb bunch of folks at Harvey Lumber Company, 800 15th Street, open Monday through Friday, 7 to 5.
Welcome back. And we're just going to have a little debriefing on Malcolm X. And, everybody probably have their own little about it. And Julian, you said
Yes,
the C-100. By the way, the C-100 is a group of collegians. This is the multi-ethnic ratio.
it's centered around black.
Okay, good. Okay, and so y'all have a discussion today.
Yes, sir. I hosted a discussion concerning it was exactly what Malcolm was talking about: integration versus segregation.
Or separation.
Or separation.
Yeah,
exactly.
That was we on that separation thing.
It was I had an idea already of what my stance was. Really, I wanted to just to have an open bill with some of the brothers on campus and just
start them to thinking a little bit.
Get them to think outside. Just get them to try to.
What are you really? You just here for a job? Is this what this is all about? Just about a job?
Apply a little bit of pressure. Try to get them to think in terms of the nation scale.
Right.
And it was a great conversation.
What was some of the point of views that came out of that discussion?
Well, one that that I took note of, it was one brother in there. He was talking, as we was talking about, the concept of nationhood and things like that, and being separating ourselves from white people. One thing he said, that was something he hadn't thought about.
Right.
We was talking about utilities, and I was asking him about the water that runs in their house and stuff. He was like, to me, I never, I was explaining, it's not really, a good position. The man that can feed you can starve you is what I was telling him. And he was like, yeah, I never really thought about that. He was like, I just looked at it, the water that's coming in my house, just the water or the electricity is just kind of there.
Right.
So I thought, it was good to hear him, have his mind cracked just a little bit. But overall, the message went over pretty well. Again, I came in knowing my stance, being
Well, you thought
nationalist, yes, sir.
You thought about it a little bit longer.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
yes, sir.
I get it. So, was it any particular point of view that other point of view that you was kind of you pretty much expected what you heard?
Really, it was a good bill because a lot of the brothers were already of the same mindset. That was one of the things I wanted to kind of gather us together with the same mindset. Bounce ideas off of each other. But overall, I think it went pretty well.
Yeah. So, Jay, what do you think about it, Jay? Have you had any discussions like that? I see a lot of people see the whole thing about it that when we talk about separation, we talk about the same thing that the East Indians are doing. We talking about the same thing that the Chinese are doing. In other words, they're not marching. They're not. Like that. They're not big. They're building business. That's really. Get outside the language, but that's all they're really saying. The same thing the Chinese are doing. They have their own economy. The Vietnamese, they have their own economy. The East Indians have their own economy. The Koreans have their own economy. The Hispanics have their own economy. That's the only thing we're saying. It's not really. But people hear it in some kind of way. No,
they get nervous.
Yeah, we're gonna drive on the same street. We still gonna go to Walmart together. It just means that we are not totally putting pressure on other people to take care of us. In other words, the same money that we're giving to the people in our community, we should own some of those stores, and we should be being able to build new businesses. Like, for example, I'm looking at, and I'm impressed with the fact they reinvested the money. I see all these service stations, they remodeling now. They got fences around them, that kind of thing. They remodeling, upgrading, but that's our money. Piggly Wiggly. Built a whole new Piggly Wiggly out there on the east side out there on Woodruff Farm Road and Forest Road.
Yeah.
But it was really primarily, I mean, I'm sure that's some other, but it was primarily for my money because that Piggly Wiggly on Universal Road been making money a long time. So my point of it is that
going in there.
but that's what helps their economy. The American economy needs all ethnic groups to have their own economy. We because what happened to those that what percentage? Most of all those businesses are employed by people of their ethnicity. Yeah. When you look at the businesses in our community, where we employ, we're not employing ourselves. It's unfair. Like as the Malcolm said, it's not fair to this society that we're not carrying our own weight the way we used to carry. So when we talk about separation, we're talking about in our economy. We're talking about our economy. Now, who you marry, who you do this, that, go, what university, all that. But we're talking about our economy. That when you make your money with whoever you make it with, that you can bring it back to some businesses that understand what there's some other needs. So and that's what we're going to talk about in a few minutes about the violence and everything. It's because we don't have an economy. That's why other children of other ethnicities are not doing this, because our children are hopeless. Okay, that's the whole point. These other children are hopeless because they see a future. Many times they're working in their parents' businesses. You know what I'm saying? The money from their financing them to be able to prepare themselves to take over greater businesses. I remember when the East Indians had the little motels out there on Victor Drive. Now they got big hotels. With our money, by and large. So that I want people to stop tripping. It ain't about whether you like somebody. We're talking about macroeconomics. Okay, yes, I mean, really, that's God bless the child that got us on. We're just saying we should have our own bakery. We should have our own service station, our own markets. We should have our own pharmacies. I mean, in other words, that did not say we're not going to go to other people. Like other people going to come to our restaurants. But we just trying to say we should have places that we employ our own. That's all we're talking about. Okay, now, Jay, you and thoughts, Jay, anything you'd like to add to that or anything?
I stand right behind that. I mean, that's been an ongoing issue. It seems like decade after decade. We see how some do take that initiative and they go and make that happen, but we're still dealing with a lot more that are not.
Right. And matter of fact, in many respects, I say it like this. In many respects, for example, we can even take this radio station, right? We're a partnership here because we have our urban market, but we all working together, and then the people here understand that there's a market out there for the urban market and things that we buy, and so therefore we're here, to support that. Yeah. And likewise, then there are others who are. I mean, I'm not a country guy. I mean, I don't do that, but I'm trying to say that. But I still go to. I heard that little steakhouse over there in Phoenix that they've been talking about. I've been thinking about trying to go over there and check it out. You know what I'm saying? It sounds pretty good. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, I'm trying to say this is an example, and I like to thank Pastor Roy Plummer for putting us together because we're in this type of partnership. So I'm saying, no, we're here trying to say we want to carry our weight. We want this to be strong, a strong partnership. But you can't have a strong partnership if you're not working together. Yeah. So that's really what it's all about, and I mean that's what we're talking about.
It's nothing scary.
No. You know what I'm trying to say.
It's truth.
Yeah, right. I live for the day just like you. Don't know I have no problem going into a Chinese restaurant, going to an Italian restaurant,
going to all these gas stations.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
Constantly.
Right. Even though that they are being a little disrespectful, we're gonna
not a little. It's more than.
So they out of pocket.
Yeah.
But see what I'm saying? We're gonna put a check. We're going to put a check on that. We're going to get a committee of 100 to start visiting them and telling them the community is not feeling you right now. And
Come on, man.
They're gonna start
acting different.
They're gonna start acting different around here. So
man,
y'all gotta start showing some love, some respect around here, and start making some contribution to this neighborhood. So that we don't have no partnership right now.
Rather than just taking.
Yeah. Right now, y'all
taking from.
We're
pimping us.
Y'all pimping now. Y'all pimping hard now. So so y'all gonna stop pimping the black community, East Indians. I'm trying to tell you, much love to you, but you gotta stop that pimping. You gotta sit down. And we gotta start talking like men and women, and we'll have some real talk about how we're gonna partner things. Otherwise, it's gonna get ugly. That's the only thing I'm trying to say. Okay, so OJ, let's okay, we had a little discussion the other night. Let's put a little bit down on how much time we got. So I want to make sure that we stop in about 5 minutes. But I want people to get a good feel for the conversation where we're going with. And by the way, we got a bus going. We got a bus going to what they call Bloody Sunday, Pettus Crossing, Pettus Bridge Crossing. People from all over the world will be there. They come there and to celebrate that achievement. I mean, that achievement, because again, nothing wrong with we're not against civil rights. We're just trying to say there's some things are human rights and some things are human responsibilities. And our human responsibility as adults and responsible self-respecting adults is that we start doing creating some business. And this is not nothing new. I mean, back in the day, just like the lady was saying, we had our own insurance. That way we have been our own. Listen, we can do this again. And our children will be working on that, and they won't be doing so much of this craziness out here, carrying guns. They will not be carrying guns. They be carrying watermelons and peas and collard greens to you so that you can cook Sunday dinner. I mean, they'll be cutting your grass, and they'll be cleaning up. They'll be fixing up on your houses. We got to get better. So we're going to play a little bit of that. And Miss Colette Rutledge, she invited me in on her piece the other night. She just happened to run into this shooting, and let's take it up from there, and we're going to talk a little bit after that, okay? Listen, Vision, now the 7 o'clock on the Flavor 92.1 FM. I'm Dr. J. Liam Hood, your host and executive producer. And, of course, here with Brother Julian.
Yes, sir.
And, of course, the man that got the steel working, is Brother Jay.
Child was it this time? Whose child could have been this time? Whose mother? Whose son? Whose wife? Whose husband? Whose girlfriend? Whose boyfriend? Whose teacher? Whose parent? Whose auntie? Whose uncle? And why don't we give a damn? Why don't we even care? God, what are we missing, y'all? What are we missing? Why can't we resolve this? I mean, you can't just put it on one thing. We just have to pay attention and be more proactive instead of reactive. Anybody willing to start some type of coalition or need assistance with spearheading something? I'm your girl. As much as I could be, I'll be your girl. I'll help. I'll help. We can all help by starting with prayer, but that's another story. Wait, what's cuz saying? They said 2 to 3 people were shot. Oh, great. Wow, that's wonderful. Yeah, that's just what we need. More lives lost. Okay. Dang, cuz it's jacked up. Checked up. Just talking to Caleb today about wanting to move to North Carolina. Wow, North Carolina, don't even ask me, but bet you know. Dr. Hud, did you say, are you saying yes, you want to come in and have a word? Let's see, how do I? Let's see. Oh, crap. I think you have to ask. I'm not good at this stuff. Let me see. Oh, yeah. There you are. You're being added.
Hello?
Hi, Dr. Hud.
Hey, I just got on, and I didn't know really what was going on. I was in Midtown, and I saw a police street was blocked off down there. I thought that's where you were. And then you said you're in another part of town. But I guess the only thing I won't keep long, but again, everything that you said is spot on, and I really, and of course, the problem is, unfortunately, is that too many people are trying to leave our community who as opposed to trying to help our community. And what I mean by that is that, you know, in all this time, how many city council people are state representatives, etc., the people that we put up there, and even pastors, the people that we say, okay, these are our civic leaders, what are they? I mean, they're not rallying us to demand that the resource in the city has millions and millions of dollars. You look the other day, they're giving out millions of dollars, but they're doing it for politics and not for the people. And I guess that's the thing about that hurt me is that like right now they're trying to make the sheriff, I mean the police chief, the fall guy, when the public safety officer, head of the police department is the mayor. The mayor the one to tell the police chief what to do. The police chief don't tell the mayor what to do, what he's going to do.
Absolutely.
And so we make everything. It's a distraction, and you know, again, unfortunately, too many of us, we on city council. When the last time have we heard from our city council representatives? Well, to speak on what you're talking about right now, they should be on here speaking. The councilman, whether it's Tucker, whether it's Pop Barnes, whether it's Bruce Huff. I mean, I'm trying to say that when can we rally them all together and say, look, put some funds out here? Because the bottom line is that people in pain, hurt people hurt people.
Yes,
and so we have
absolutely.
a generation of people, these children, the schools, I mean, they're not investing in anything in these children. They put police in the schools as opposed to helping children live without police. So, I mean, we have a program you mentioned before. We have a program, we work with the ex-offenders. And we're trying to get the ex-offenders, you know, so that they can come back. When they come back to town, they can come back and work in these streets because they know these streets.
Right.
But nobody,
institutionalized. Exactly.
You know, but they put funds in people's hands called the Cure Violence. They put $500,000, not $500,000, no, yeah, $500,000, yeah, $500,000 into Cure Violence for people to give speeches. That they should be hiring these young people when they get to be 16 in after school job. They got all this money, but the city uses it as slush funds. So I guess I'm just saying, I'm just very frustrated because I'm tired of our community going, asking the police and the sheriff, what y'all gonna do? No, what are we gonna do? They need to put funds into the neighborhood.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, in your neighborhood, they should be able to hire people, ex-soldiers. What are they? Ex-military, the retiree veterans going all over the world to fight for everybody else's freedom, but right here in our own community, you know, and this is a community of veterans. What are they doing to help teaching our young boys how to patrol and protect the community as opposed to destroying it? So, you know, and so these are some of the things that I'm concerned about, and I'm just delighted that at least that you're speaking truth to power because it's ridiculous. You know, there's no investment, and even right now they're talking about how much money they got for police, but how much money do they have for neighborhoods? You know, like put money into block by block. They should have a budget for block by block in these areas. I mean, so that the neighborhood watch go beyond just watching, but the neighborhood watch become neighborhood workers and teaching the young people, give them jobs to help out senior citizens, give them after school jobs to pick up paper in the neighborhood. That would teach them to be responsible because right now the children don't feel that the neighborhood doing nothing for them. So why should they care anything about the community? The community not doing anything for them.
Absolutely.
We're not investing anything in them.
Right.
So that, you know, so that they ain't got nothing to protect.
Right.
So I'm trying to say we got to give them some investment in the community by investing in them and saying you are important to us.
That's our foundation.
Yeah, we want to get another jail to lock them up or put them in the YDC, but we don't want to give them nothing to keep them out of the YDC.
Right.
And that's been my fight for years and years and will. When you going to invest money in our black children? Because when white children had problems, they come up with money for that. Okay, and that, so therefore this little study they did, they shouldn't have been studying the police department. They should have been studying the government. The government,
mighty
not
rich.
the police department. But see, that's the trick. That's the trick. That's the trick.
Yes.
See what I'm saying? They should have been asking what the city council doing. You know, they're not the police chief the only one that recruit people. Everybody in the city council, the city manager, the mayor, everybody's supposed to be recruiting people. You see?
Audited them all.
Yeah. But they go,
Let me tell it.
yeah. Now we had these other police chiefs in there for 50 years, and they never put up no audit for them. And the problem started with before now. Okay, this guy a black man just got in there 2 years ago, and now they want to act like he's the problem. No. The thing about it is that the people who complaining about black men, and because these white racists who want to get promotion, and he won't give them promotions, and so that's what this is all about right now. Okay, because they say the public safety director of the city is the mayor, not the police chief. The police chief is appointed by the mayor, and so he takes his orders from the mayor.
Yeah,
okay?
you gotta look at that org chart. Look at the org chart.
Yeah. So they play these little games. When we was going down there for the public safety director to hold everybody accountable, they table that, and so every time the citizens try to get more control over the budget we talking about right now, invest in the neighborhood. Yes. Get out of these police cars. Walk the block like they do in New York and Detroit. You know, get out of those cars.
Yeah.
Walk those neighborhoods.
But if you only have 18 on a particular shift, it's going to be a little hard till we get some responsible people wanting to.
I can recruit people to the police department, but they're using that money. They're saying they got money, but they're using that money for other things. See, that's behind the scene. They don't tell you about that. They're not really trying to recruit, because you can go to these black colleges, and all these guys that playing sports that no longer play sports after they finish their college days, you recruit them for police. You see what I'm saying? I mean, you can go. That's what you do. That's how you do it. But they're not doing that. You got people coming out the military every day. Okay, recruit them. We right here in Fort Benning. I mean, so it's really the main thing is you look at downtown, you look at uptown, and in the last, you grew up in here, Colette. Within the last 50 years, you remember how downtown would look 30 years ago. You know how uptown looked. Okay, now the south side and the east side look the same way. Exactly. But downtown, the downtown, the uptown, Bill City,
the same road. You got to change your tires every time you drive down that way. Exactly. Right. I often wonder, like, why do they keep changing the roads in my area? We're good. I'm straight. Like, changing where I used to hang out, changing where my friends are, changing where I grew up. You know,
because the people that the preachers want to be politicians, and the politicians want to be preachers. Okay, don't nobody want to work for the people no more. It's okay. So right now, I'm just saying is that we have been betrayed by people we put in there to sit at that table to demand resource for. They don't do that. They go down to go to parties, to represent at parties and banquets and dinners and they're not out in these streets. When I lived in Detroit, the city council people, when something like this was going on, they got in their car and came down there to see what was going on. That's what the city council and the state. I mean, that's what they did. Okay, but these people, you don't never see them in time unless it's a party or a banquet. So where are they when you need?
Oh yeah, you catch them at a ball now. You catch them at a ball.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. Yeah, you catch them at a ball downtown on Broadway, but not in their district. Right. Not in their district. They don't even go to their district until they want to vote. So you know, I'm gonna get off.
Wave outside of the Citizen Center. I meant at the election offices. And that's when you see them waving with their posters up. But after that, I see them in another 2 or 4 years. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. But now again, when you go on the north side now, they on the north side with the council people from the north side. They're not spending no time in their own district. Right. But they spend the time in other people's districts. It's
exposure. They want exposure.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. So people put them in there. They ain't putting in no work. So that's where the fault is. The fault ain't with the police chief. The fault is the council people. They're supposed to be putting money back into the neighborhood. What money they putting in the neighborhoods? Nothing. How I said before, when this last election, we need to be hiring at least 3,000 to 5,000 young people for after-school jobs. and they got the money. They got the money.
Yeah.
3,000 to 5,000 because if you gonna try to hire 50 or 60 or 70 kids over the summer, look, that's 35,000 students in this town, and probably probably about 10, 15,000 of them, if I'm not mistaken, probably high school students. At least, so I'm trying to say, so you need to at least hire every day. You need to be hiring in these areas where you got disadvantaged children. You need to be hiring at least 2,000 to 3,000 children in those neighborhoods, give them some after school jobs, okay, to work in their own neighborhoods, not at Burger King, but work in their own neighborhood, picking up paper, helping out senior citizens, watching, doing neighborhood patrols, watching to make sure that nobody's breaking into nobody's houses. That's what we used to do back in our day.
This is where I am, y'all.
So that's what.
No, Dr. Hud, when I saw you online, that's why I invited you in, because I knew you were going to have some, a lot of insight, and I'm so proud of you and what you do for our community, or at least attempt to do, even if you're met with some shutdowns, but it's never stopped you. And I think that's the motivation that we need as a community to.
I work for God. See, I'm not trying to be popular.
No, you're not. You're so undercover, it's not even real, but your presence is still known when it's made.
So I appreciate you for what you're doing right now. This is the kind of stuff that we used to do back in the day. Okay, that we had when we had the black. I was in the Black Panther again, and then we were patrolling the neighborhood. But then the police didn't want to patrol. Lazarus. But don't forget, if you want to get on that bus, we got a bus. Get your children, get your cousin, get your friend. Let's get on the bus, have some fun going down to the Pettit Street, to the Selma Jubilee, having a good time down there, and showing the children what it feels like to be among people who are trying to make a difference in the world. These children don't know. So get your son, get your daughters, get them children, get on the bus, or just go by yourself, and go down there and commemorate with people that look. Things, the more things get better, the more they get worse. So therefore, we have not finished this work yet, and let's go down there and be rejuvenated. I've been down there before, and I certainly look forward to it. So again, interested, give me a call at 706-221-4830. Project Rebound, give us a call, and we got a few more seats on the bus. And you got a group you want to take down there, particularly our teens especially. Let's get them down there. But again, let's enjoy it. So before we go, Junior, anything you'd like to say about anything while we, finish up here?
I guess I'll just go with the same thing. It's a never-ending struggle until we got our own land.
And then it'll be another struggle.
And then one coming right after that. You already know.
Exactly. Jay, you better close up the village. What you got to say?
What are we gonna do? What are we gonna do taking this information? And I'm saying that to those that are listening.
Yeah.
And looking forward to the end of the year and seeing, okay, I've kind of taken a step forward to playing my part here in the community. Like what, for real? Because it's what's being shown is that there's an option.
Right.
That seems like it boils down to the individuals that
As I say many times,
we're gonna have to do something.
How many must die before we unify? Good night. We love you. Peace. Get on the bus. Not the Meat Man March this time. Going down to Selma, to the Selma Jubilee. Come on, let's get on the bus. Give me a call, 706-221-4830. Get on the bus.